Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to see everybody on time. This is so not Vietnamese. All right. Good afternoon once again. Welcome to the second year in a row, the Vietnamese Consumer Trends Seminar 2026 and beyond, sponsored by the Canadian Consulate in Ho Chi Minh City. I am Winnie Lam. I'm a past president of Canadian Chambers of Commerce in Vietnam here, and I'll be your host this afternoon. Today, we'll explore how Vietnamese consumers are evolving from confidence and purchasing power to media behavior and retail choices through insights shared by leading experts from across industries. It is not very often that you will see such stars that are lined up. As a matter of housekeeping, please set your phone to the silent mode during the seminar and answer your phone outside of the ballroom if needed. Thank you for your consideration. The opinions as expressed today at the seminar are strictly personal sharing, and to use any of the information publicly, please seek the consent of the speaker specifically and directly. A copy of the presentation will be made available through CanCham, if permitted by the speakers also. And note that today's event is being recorded, and you may have a chance to review it again later. All right, we will have a panel Q&A at the end of all the presentations. You are welcome to put up your hand, or you can write down your questions and give it to our CanCham assistants to be forwarded. They should be around the room when you need them. To officially open today's event, without further delay, please join me in welcoming Mr. Zach Herbers, President of CanCham Vietnam, for his opening remarks. Zach.
All right, thank you, Winnie, and good afternoon, everyone. What a crowd this is. We're sold out. Full house, 150 people here at Park Hyatt, which is great to see. So my name is Zach Herbers. It's a pleasure to welcome you here to our Consumer Trends Seminar this afternoon. For those of you who are new to CanCham, we are a non-government, non-profit business association that works to foster stronger connection and commercial opportunities between Canada and Vietnam. Our mission is to build a vibrant international business community, support our members' success, and expand awareness of bilateral opportunities between both of our great countries. So whether you are a Canadian or Canadian business already established here in Vietnam, a Vietnamese or international business operating in Vietnam, seeking to develop new opportunities with Canada, or for those watching online, if you're a Canadian organization at the early steps or stages of looking at Vietnam as a new market, we encourage you to reach out, connect with the team, join our events, and get involved with our chamber, and of course, become a member. So before we begin the seminar, I would like to extend a sincere thank you to the Consul General of Canada in Ho Chi Minh City, as well as the Canadian Trade Commission Service for their partnership and support in making today's event possible. So a huge thank you to Annie Dubé, Consul General, David Mallet, Senior Trade Commissioner, and Gabrielle Laflamme, Trade Commissioner, who's here with us today. This wouldn't have been possible without you. I'd also like to thank the CanCham team for their efforts in putting today's seminar together. Additionally, I would like to recognize CanCham Vietnam's national corporate sponsors, who are the foundation of what we do throughout the year. So to Canadian National Railway, Danone Foods, Export Development Canada, Sun Life, Vina Capital, Grant Thornton, La Vie, Manulife, PCA Company Services, and Telek & Gibbons, thank you. And of course to everyone here, all 150 of you, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this afternoon. So once again, wishing everybody a successful event. I hope everybody learned some interesting things. We're looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
All right, I'm the very ungiving host today when it comes to time, okay? Speakers, I'll be introducing you one by one. You each have 15 minutes. No, I should say up to 15 minutes for your presentation. You will receive a tip at 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and 1 minute. And we may shut off your microphone at 1 minute. if you're overrunning, all right? Yeah, if you've been to seminars that Winnie hosts before, you know I'll do it. All right, without further ado, kicking off our seminar is none other than CanCham's very own Mr. Ralph Matiers, who is the maestro of the Consumer Trends Seminar, with this being the second edition. On behalf of CanCham and the business community here, thank you so much for all the efforts for putting this seminar together, Ralph.
Yay.
And he needs little introduction, very little introduction. Managing Director of IFM Research, lived and worked in Vietnam for over 30 years, since he was 4 years old. He is a true pioneer in market research here. And after 2 decades in corporate leadership with TNS and Cantor across most of the world, Ralph founded IFM Research, Vietnam's first dedicated smartphone-based research agency with one of the largest consumer panels in the country. So, do it right.
Do it.
All right?
Yay.
Okay, welcome, Ralph. A round of applause, please.
I got married to this room 18 years ago. Wow. And I'm still married. So even better. All right. Today, I want to talk about consumer trends, but I think what's more important than that is to actually put it into the preface of the economy and what is actually impacting consumerism in Vietnam. Let's see if this works. I'm starting to feel like Taylor Swift here. All right. So let's start off by looking at some of the economic indicators. Now, the government says we're growing at 7.52% GDP. That's the highest growth rate we've had in almost a decade outside of 2022, which was the rebound from COVID. 14 billion trade surplus, very positive. $24 billion of FDI. That cannot be understated. That's really huge because that has a major impact to the economy. 51 million Vietnamese workforce, okay? And finally, a mild upswing in the real estate market. However, the problem is, since the factories went back into full bore, it's really hard to find construction workers. So right now, the cost of construction is going up because labor costs are going up, which is also stalling a lot of projects. So it's a bit of a cat and mouse thing, all right? And on the negative side, are you aware of the 51 million people, 32 million do not have a legal contract to work? In other words, no pension, no whatever. In other words, what that means is you've got a huge part of the population which has got no security valve whatsoever. Another one, 1.2 million unemployed, okay? You'll see in the next slide, before COVID, we had 54 million working population. Now we have 51 million working population, all right? And then finally, our inflation rate. I think we all know that inflation is considerably higher than what is being stated, all right? All I have to do is ask my wife. She tells me because she always asks for more money, all right? Now, a couple interesting demographic shifts that we need to understand, all right? What you see here is that you've got the contribution of GDP by the different sectors. You have their growth rate, but then more importantly, and that's missing from my slide here, is the percentage of the population working on those. Remember I said we've lost almost 3 million people in the employment side of things? Most of those are agricultural workers. So yes, agriculture is becoming more mechanized, smarter, but a lot of people are leaving it, right? That's the unemployment side. I'm sure you're aware, a lot of people right now today, what are they doing? They're selling stuff online. All right, so that's one negative. Another one is we do have a graying population. Retired people will grow by double in 10 years. All right? Our workforce will decline from 69% to 67%. All right? These are negative trends that are only actually going to get worse, and they do have an impact on the economy. Now, whoops, I went the wrong way. Oh, no, I didn't. So, if we look at pardon me. So last year, we had 467 billion GDP. 65% of that is the consumer market, the domestic economy. You know, there's a lot of events about FDI investment, the stock market. They're tiny compared to what you guys spend every day. So it shows you how important consumerism is in Vietnam, okay? Now, okay, let's talk about confidence. Let's talk about confidence. Ta-da, confident. All right. Now, I've been doing the CCI since 2008, all right? But I will show you here. So, going back to 2011, the index that you see on the bottom is our index, the IFM CCI index. What you see above is the inflation rate and the GDP growth. And what you will notice is when GDP slows and inflation goes up, confidence rate goes down, okay? Kind of obvious, but it's really interesting to see how it actually works and generates, all right? Now, if we look at more recently, we do this survey 2 times a year. So we do it at the November, December for 2026, and then we do it for the middle of the year. And remember COVID, so we did in 2020, in January we did the survey, and by February we got hit by COVID. And you see the huge discrepancy here. The point is, as you'll see, we have not recovered from COVID. The economy has been really slow, really lagging, right? But yet you read all this stuff in the newspaper, ooh, Vietnam's doing so well, yada, 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 yada. And I feel sorry for everybody else because they're going, how come I'm not doing well? Well, what's that saying? Don't believe anything what you read and only half of what you see. All right, so you got to be careful with data. Now, when we break down CCI, we look at 11 different subsectors, okay? And we ask people, will you spend more, the same, or less? The ones who spend more, we ask them, why will you spend more? Will you spend more because you're using more or because of the cost of the goods, all right? So we take out inflation. So if we look at the actual sectors, the only sectors that are actually growing this year is F&B, household utilities, which is negative, because you got to pay for those, right? Education, healthcare, personal care products, and communications. So the point is, some sectors are still doing quite well, all right? But a lot of sectors are down the dumps. If you look at electronics, if you look at dining out, I'm sure you read recently what 30,000 outlets have closed in Vietnam, F&B outlets. Well, number one, there's just too bloody many. I live in Thao Dinh, all right? There's 188,000 people that live in District 2, and we have 180,000 restaurants in District 2. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, all right? If we look, another interesting factor is Vietnam grows at different rates, and so does the confidence. So if we take a look, recently, for the last couple of years, North Vietnam, Hanoi, Northern Vietnam, has been doing really well because a lot of investment went to North Vietnam, especially a lot of the FDI. What we're seeing now, all of a sudden North Vietnam has been hit, and North Vietnam is starting to grow negatively. A part of that could be, I mean, poor North Vietnam. They've been hit by storm after storm after storm after storm. That's going to have a negative impact on the economy, all right? What you do see quite interesting, central and rural Vietnam are the only ones that are a bit more optimistic. If you live in rural Vietnam, you lose your job. At the end of the day, you just move back in with your family and you eat a coconut and a banana and you're good, all right? So it's a bit less of a burden for some of these people. Now, what are the factors actually impacting the consumers or the behavior of consumers? Is obviously employment status. Now, the good thing is 70%, or is it 70? 76% of all Vietnamese are either full-time or part-time employed, all right? That's good. During COVID, it was much lower, all right? Only 5% are presently unemployed, but of those, only half are actually looking for work. There's a lot of people who are just fed up. I don't want to work anymore, okay? I think my staff say that to me every day. I'm looking at you right now, okay? However, more importantly, if we look at salary increases, all right? So this year, what is it, about 53% received a salary increase, all right? 26% low increase, and 19% had a decrease. Before COVID, it was always increase, 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 increase. It also shows you that different companies in different sectors are doing differently in terms of their growth and profit. Another one, and this is a key one. Hi, Richard. Welcome. Are you an AI version of yourself today? Yeah. Another one here is the ability to save. Most people are not saving money. They're actually living off their bank accounts. That is critical. Until that changes, nothing will change. That's the key. Okay. Top fears, not surprisingly, inflation, US tariffs. Another one, obviously before, there was no fear of US tariffs because they didn't exist, all right? And Vietnam economic slowdown. Tariffs. Tariffs have had a major impact, but it's more about the uncertainty of what tariffs will bring, all right? So people aren't sure. Now, you just heard an announcement that, yes, Vietnam will ratify. You wait and see. Vietnam, they're the smartest negotiators in the world. That is not going to be ratified anytime soon, I think, okay? So I don't think the tariff thing will be resolved this year. Okay, so if we look at my predictions here, there's a couple of interesting things. So number one, we all know that online shopping is growing like crazy. But there's only so many things you buy online. Are you going to buy jewelry, a car online? No. All right, so online is sort of starting to become saturated. Brick and mortar, I think, is going to pick up a little bit. And part of that is because people are feeling a bit more confident about the economy, so they're looking forward to going out shopping, all right? If you look at investment vehicles, investing in a company is the number one vehicle. That's positive. People are a bit more confident about the economy. They're willing to invest in business. Look at key trends. So if these things all improve, then we're going to have a better time of it. Remember the opportunities. You can plan. Different regions have different economic outlooks, so you can plan your sales that way, all right? And also understand that at the end of the day, you have an older population, which means start looking at products that are for older people. You know, we've always been concentrating on diapers for babies. I think we're going to start concentrating on diapers for older people. All right? So it's what we call spreading the shit. All right? So my prediction is I think we're still recovering, but I think this coming year will be quite positive, more positive than the last couple of years. And on a final note, I think brick and mortar will start to pick up again, which will be positive. The expansion of AI, which I think Richard is going to talk about, it's influencing all our businesses, all right? More focus on older consumers. And then finally, as confidence increases, so will spend, all right? So the glass is a little bit more half full than half empty. Now, we're doing this survey again in November for 2026. If you're interested, let us know. Also, note that we have Crystal Ball, which is our premier business event. That's coming up in late January, early August. So we hope to see you there. Without further ado, thanks a lot.
So thank you, Ralph, for the data rich overview. And he speaks very, very fast. And I am sure Rakesh will be speaking just as fast. He is the managing director of, I don't know, should I say Ipsos, IPSOS, Vietnam.
Ipsos.
And he has led market research and consulting projects across pretty much everywhere. Ralph's called him worldly. With expertise in brand communication, market strategy, and innovation, He has been guiding leading brands to better understand consumer behaviors and motivations. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Rakesh Dayal to present the Now of Vietnam Trends and Implications. Your 15 minutes start now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? I would just ask you a simple question. What did you do this morning when you woke up? The first thing. Check the phone. Check the phone? Yes. Ideally, we should just go to the bathroom and brush our teeth, right? So that is exactly what is happening now. It's the behavior which we are changing as consumers. We start and it is all getting impacted because of tradition, technology, and also the whole transformation which is happening. So it's in that flux which we are in, and that is why it's all about understanding consumers, Vietnamese consumers, but now. So my 15 minutes of presentation will be all about understanding the psyche, the psychology of our consumers in Vietnam. So, let me just share. This is all the findings which I'm going to share with you will be based on the Global Trends report, Ipsos Global Trends, which we conduct every year. And this is from the 10th anniversary of our report. So for Vietnam, in this report, we conducted among 1,000 plus consumers. And before we move on to all the trends, let me just quickly, let's look at the context. So this is Miss Mai, 35 years old, works in a corporate, and she just bought a latest mobile, which is iPhone 17. But at the same time, she also has 30 million dong somewhere saved in her wardrobe. Do you see this something common? This behavior? So this is exactly what we see, that it is a balance between I still want to enjoy, but at the same time, I need to save for future. Because we have always seen that for whatever reason, there is always some calamity, something which just pops up. So as Vietnamese, the consumers are always looking at this balance. And the second thing is all about the optimism. We, as Vietnamese, they always look at, okay, there is always a light. So, and this is, if you look at the average, global average, we are 11% higher, the top over the world. So this is the best which we can look at. So this is just to give you a context, and now let me just get quickly into the trends. So globally we identified 9 trends, and out of those 9 trends, there are these 6 trends which resonate with our Vietnamese consumers. And because of the time limit, I will just focus on 3. So let's start with Techno Wonder. What does it mean? So if you just look at this chart, you will see that Vietnam is an outlier. What does it mean? It has, on the x-axis is all the nervousness, on the x-axis is all about the excitement about it, and on the y-axis is the nervousness. Now if you look at Vietnam, people are excited about AI, right? And not really nervous. Why? Why they are not nervous? Because 70% of consumers feel that the data will be taken care of. The government or the organizations will take care of this data. And it is also being exhibited by some of the organizations, some of the companies. So we all know about Momo, which is a super app. And with leveraging AI, it is all, the services are all personalized. So it is like a tool for everyone. But at the same time, they are being very transparent in sharing that how they are protecting their data. So as a consumer, we feel that, oh, as long as my data is protected, I am free. Right? But then, what is it? It's all about the trust. How we are building the trust of our consumers. And that leads to the next trend, the power of trust. So, as a company, if we start building up this trust with our consumers, with our customers, they are ready to go with those brands. They're ready to go and spend more. So, if I just have to give three, the power of three, which is authenticity. As a brand, we need to be very authentic. That's number one. Number two is also like assurance. As a company, we need to assure that whatever as an organization or a company we are doing, it will be all good. Or the delivery of the promise and the expectation. And the third one is also appeal. Yeah, it is all good to have a good product, but we live in a TikTok world, right? So we also need to be a good in appeal. And just to give an example, all of us are familiar with Pizza 4P. This is a great example, a combination of owners, founders who are Japanese, trying to get pizza, Italian, for Vietnamese. But why they are so successful? It is just because they have the great hospitality. When you go to their stores, you will feel welcome. They have the aesthetics. All those are so good. And they talk about the great quality. Of course, you receive those. Then it is all about the delivery. And the most important is the soul of Vietnam, which means all the ingredients and the flavors are from Vietnam. So again, this is just one example. But then when we are in Pizza 4P, that's all about experience, right? And when it comes to experience, not always we are delivering on the promises which we have, right? So you can see the contradictory number. At one hand, we see that, oh, I'm happy to go with this brand, I trust this brand, but when I come to the experience, it doesn't match. So it is all about experience. And again, when we talk about experience in the age of AI, again, yes, we want to leverage AI, but at the same time, be mindful about the human touch. Because people they are telling now that it is too automated, right? So again, that's something which is an opportunity. We need to leverage it. And the last, sorry, but I have a trend. I think there is some problem there. But I would like to share the third trend, which is about escape to individualism, which is very unusual. We are talking about a society which is all about community, which is all about going together, family-oriented. And now we have a trend which is about escape to individualism. What does it mean? It is, yes, I like to be with family. I like to go as a community, but I still need my space. I still want to maybe go and enjoy that matcha, whisking of that matcha by myself. right? I don't just want to go and just grab something which is on the shelf. So that is about just those small moments. So that could be one example. The other is also about just taking a solo trip to Dalat or somewhere else where I just want to be with myself. I need that time. And also, I want to exhibit the way I want. Like, for example, we see that there is this whole Korean drama, right? We all are familiar with the Crash Landing. We all know, yeah. So it is such an important and such big success that they want to like go and experience that. The cuisine of which was shown in those that movie. The same way, like, are you familiar with La Bubu? Right? Yeah. So as my statement, I would carry that bag with those dolls there, right? So again, this is all about the opportunities which I still want to take and come out of that and have my own time. So that is very important. So just to wrap it up, I would say that there are all these trends, and I'm sure you will learn more from other speakers today. But this is where lies opportunity for all of us. How can we actually build the future? How can we make this trend, leverage these trends to go forward? So I hope some of those trends which I just shared could be useful for all of you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for Rakesh. Now I can articulate about my biggest fear. AI can't replace me. I obviously is authentic. I pretty good assurance. They keep asking me come back to host. And obviously I have appeal, right? Yeah. So I'm good. Winnie's on deck. All right. Well, that was a very early introduction of the next presentation from Ms. Win Tan Du on Innovation, Insight, and Portfolio Strategy, Director at Heineken Vietnam. 17 years of experience. She started young, all right, across Nielsen, Nestle, and Heineken. She's known for her ability to translate complex consumer data into actionable business generation, which is good. I like to hear about actions. You know, these guys have only daters. Please welcome Ms. Win Tan Du to share Shaping Growth in Vietnam, a playbook for turning insight into impact. We are right on time.
Afternoon, Kancham. How are you? Good, great. Okay, a lot of data points. Right. For those who don't know me, my name is Tu. If you want to know more, you can scan. So that is my LinkedIn profile. And I really hope that we can stay connected beyond just today, right? Today is just the starting point, right? Right. So it's a privilege to be here with all the dinosaurs of the insight industry. I love it. Ralph is the #1 dinosaur. And Richard? Yeah, today we don't have Phil, then Jimai, Peter, right? Rakesh as well. So it's my privilege to be with all the insight minds and share the stage with them today. Those people that I really respect and learn from and collaborate in my 17 years in the insight industry. So I'm right now taking care of insight, innovation, and portfolio strategy of Heineken Vietnam. And today, you have plenty of data, and later on more. So there is no data on my deck, basically. I would like to bring in, a very simple playbook of, how do we navigate for growth in Vietnam, which is like one of the fastest changing market in the world. Right. Let's start first with where we are today, of the realities. I think if people who joined my keynote in MMA 2 months back, I mentioned about Barney, but today I brought in a new framework, Flux. Any one of you heard about this new framework? Oh, you heard, yeah. It's actually in the soon-to-be published book of Dr. Timothy. I came across this framework, and I'm fascinated by it because it's actually directed out of the problem space that VUCA and Barney trying to state it, right? But Flux is more into that solution space. And I find it deeply relevant to Vietnam these days. So Vietnam is not just a fast-changing market, it's the flux market. So probably we might want to refer to Vietnam in that way. So what is flux about? F is fast. Again, fast is there, right? So trends or the demand cycle in Vietnam basically collapses from years to weeks. So all the trends of, let's say, matcha latte, I don't know how it came from, but then basically when I travel across the nations, it becomes the cravings of all of us. And one of my team members, she actually purchased matcha latte every day, and it became trends after weeks, not years, right? So trends happening just in weeks, super fast, right? Second element is liquid. So the market, the boundaries have been blurred. People actually pay, shop in one platform. So let's take Momo, let's take Zalo, let's take TikTok. Everything happened in one platform. There is no boundaries between entertainment and consumption, correct? You don't have the funnel anymore. The funnel of awareness, consideration, purchase, advocacy. No, you don't have the funnel anymore. All of that stay in one platform happening at the same time. So super liquid market. The third element is uncharted. There is no playbook for such a native AI consumer expects right now. There is no playbook. Consumer wants convenience, conscience, personalization, all at once. Right? So there is no instruction for us, so it's very uncharted. And the last element is what I'm really, really fascinated about, is experimental. Vietnam is, for me, one of the most fearless try and see market in APAC, even in the world. Try and see, from mega brands to micro brands, right? You see that, bringing new things in, even though it's not perfect. But people want to try, people want to see how it goes. So that's all about experimental. And I think that is what's so excited about Vietnam, yeah? So let's try to frame that for Vietnam as in a flux market from now to 2030, right? So if we're talking about playbook, this is my consolidation of, okay, if we understand Vietnam is the flux market, how do we navigate for growth? And this simple playbook contains 4 elements. 3 of them we need to redefine. Number 1, redefine consumer insights from knowing consumer to co-creating with consumer. And I'm going to go into the details later. Number 2, defining capabilities, right? From static functions, silo functions, into a system that work together. And that's really important. I find myself, the second element of this playbook is extremely important. And then the third one is to redefine the impact. When we talk about impact, we normally mention about, big launches, right? Big moments. But at the end, it's not just that. It's about the continuous learning loops that create the impact. And the last element, that is also my favorite element of the playbook, is about the trust. The only human touch, right? And without that, nothing will happen. And in my MMA keynote 2 months back, I brought in this element as well. Today, I want to re-emphasize the role of trust across the playbook. This is something super hard to build in an organization, to maintain in an organization. So let's unpack one by one. Redefine insight. I rooted my career from inside, and all of us here as well. Sorry. So when we mention about insight, how do we refer to that? We refer to insight as is we found insight from consumer. So insight to be found. But no, we need to redefine insight. Insight is to be co-created with consumers. Consumer is not about consuming things. They should be the one who be in the whole process with us, right? To come up with the insight. So if we are looking around, especially in the small startup, we already see, for example, seasonal menus coming from coffee shop can be co-created, coming from the needs of the consumers. If we look into Shopee live creators, they are trying to sell the product and get the live feedback. And then from there, they change their portfolio as well. So that is how you bring in the consumer insight live into the process. It's a co-creation process. Yeah? And in the screen, as you can see, any one of you are aware of this latest campaign of Tiger street football? Yeah? So Vietnam is super famous for football as a passion point. So this is where Tiger basically doesn't tap on the passion point just by talking about it. We bring in the platform for consumers to play, right, to express themselves, to own the platform, and they become a part of the story. So insight come out when we deepen the relationship with the consumers, and from there, consumer is not only an audience, but a part of it. So the first principle of the playbook is redefine insight, and insight is not coming from the reports, but coming from the real relationship that you create with your consumers, between your brands and your consumers. Yeah? The second element is capability. So when we mention about capability, we easily think about training, having more money, building up people. But here I would like to touch on one element. Is that 5 minutes or? No, I still have time? Okay. I'm good? Right. So it's not about having more people, having more functions, but basically on the leading organization, we are trying to move away from a rigid structure functions into something that McKinsey called adaptive system. And these systems consist of all the functions, right? Working together, having the same information at the same time. They are able to sense, to respond to the market all at once. You're not going to work it on a linear and sequential, mode, but everyone at the same time. So that means you need to break the silo. You cannot work just function by function, right? And when we are able to create a system that you are able to learn together and act together, you're going to outperform your competitors, right? The third one, impact. We refer to impact as in the moment when you have an advertising being on the screen, you have new product on the shelves, and you call that impact. But nowadays, we need to understand that impact is cumulative, where you are able, to create that kind of circle of test, learn, adapt, and scale. So let's take Momo, an app, as an example. Momo was born as an e-wallet platform, and nowadays it's the lifestyle platform. You can buy flight tickets there, movie tickets there. Actually, they provide financial solutions there as well, right? But there is no big launch of any of those features. They do it very silently with the test and then scale. Test and scale. How do we continue and create that kind of continuous learning loops in our organization? Because iteration will strengthen your system. Iteration will make your system even smarter, right? And that is where I think we always measure the picture of success, the impact with business growth, but hardly that we measure the learning velocity of your system. If you learn faster than what your competitor can copy, you will win. You cannot prevent people from copying yourself these days, correct? Nothing. Nothing is impossible to be copied. You need to move faster. And with this learning loops, it will give you that competitive advantage to stay ahead of the game. Yeah? And the last element, as I just shared, is the trust. The trust is something invisible. Invisible in your organization, in the teams. But without that, you cannot bring from insight to impact, right? You cannot do anything of the three elements that I mentioned above. With the trust, the actions will be in place. The alignment will be there. Yeah? So this is super hard to achieve. And it requires a lot of effort from the leadership and also with the team members, a lot of effort. But without that, it's very hard for us to bring into life on the world. So I think for one thing that I would like to leave with all of us today is that growth doesn't belong to those who are able to capture the trends the fastest. But growth will belong to those who are able to create and build an adaptive system. And that system is able to co-create with consumers for insight, is able to create a learning loops together continuously, and there is trust in that system. My playbook is super simple, yeah, and I hope that it is helpful for everyone here. Big, little, I don't know, but I hope that you can be, adapt into the system that you are already working on for your team, but also for your business. So thank you, Kancham, for this opportunity.
Our next session featured two incredible leaders from Canton Media, Vietnam. Actually, I was told that there are at least 4 generations of them here today, including Ralph and Richard. So, together they'll bring experience and fresh perspective to Vietnam's media landscape. Ms. Mai, former General Director of Canton Media Vietnam, long-standing board member of the Vietnam Advertising Association, she has been a driving force in Vietnam's marketing and communication industry since its early days. Ms. Thuy, General Manager at Canton Media Vietnam right now, who has been with the company since 2013. She leads commercial growth and client partnerships, adapt to evolving media dynamics through data-driven insights. So Ms. Thuy will kick off with the presentation, and then Ms. Mai will bring up the rear, and oh yeah, Ralph is like slowly coming in, thank you. Otherwise, we don't know how to start without you. All right, may I introduce and welcome Ms. Thuy to the stage, and Ms. Mai will come a little bit afterwards.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for still staying with us, joining us this afternoon. My name is Thuy from Canton Media Vietnam, and it is my pleasure to be here together with Ms. Thanh Mai, former of Canton Media Vietnam. Today in this seminar, we would like to share with you on current media consumption landscape, as well as the fragmentation in how audience consume and engage with media contents. Following that, Ms. Thanh Mai will share with you the latest updates on government regulations related to media advertising and marketing. I would like to begin my presentations with an update about the advertising spend across media platforms from 2019 up to now. As you can see that the television and digital platform continue take a larger share on total spending. In fact, the digital platform is growing, not only growing, they now leading the way and becoming the most powerful platform. In less than a decade, that you can see that the digital expense jumped from 871 million to 1.6 billion USD. And the traditional live TV, radio, and print has dropped sharply. In fact, the TV in 2025 is forecast just over 50% compared with its work back in 19. It's here I mention is linear TV. For the TV contents which air on digital, we count for digital expense. And from the figure, many people believe that the brand advertiser now are priority push their advertising on digital platform because digital are seen as the better advertising performance compared with other traditional. It's true that the media consumption today is significantly different from what it was 10 years ago, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. We also seen that the rapid growth and influencer from the digital media. But the real question is, does it automatically mean that digital is the golden key to create the successful and effective advertising campaign? So here, we stay here to emphasize to you that not only the media platform, a truly effective campaign also arouse from deep understanding the audience media habit. The audience media habit right now have become increasingly fragmented because the consumer now have more choice than ever before in how and where they consume. So what are the fragmentation is? The first one is the regional difference in media consumption habit. If you can see that according to our latest target group index survey, you can see that people in 4 key cities, they spend more than 5 hours per day for online activity. And within 5 hours a day on active online, they spend more than 4 hours for online internet and 1 hour for the linear TV. But if you look at each city, there are much difference. In Hanoi, people highly active on social media and also watch TV daily. They tend to use media mainly for search news, information, and current updates. In the meanwhile, the Ho Chi Minh and Da Nang people spend on time for entertainment, music, short video, and YouTube. In contrast, although the overall daily is lower than other, but you can see that the time spent on social media still ranks second after Hanoi. Besides the regional difference, you can see the difference on age. Watching short video and reading news on social media are two the most common activity across our age group. But you can see that about the time spent, the younger audience to spend more time for online than older groups. On the other hand, if you come to the television, the trend reverse. The people from 55 years old and above, they spend significantly more time to watching TV older than younger audience. And the story of the fragmentation will be clearer when we look at the social media. Among the social media platforms, you can see that Zalo and Facebook remain the main hub. However, the TikTok become the home space of the Gen Z, with over 19% they using every day. Instagram, although they not widely across the Vietnam, but the Gen Z, 50% people of Gen Z access daily. Among other groups is very low. For the favorite genre of TV and VOD, while the television remains the home of news for most generations, VOD has become the playground for game show and series. Gen Z is particularly show on game show, comedy, and music show. Why another older audience tend to refer to Vietnam series. So it means that the content needs to be personalized by and platform. VOD offer the RAM opportunity to engage the Gen Z. Why? With the reactive entertainment, why the television continue to play the central role for news. And in terms of e-commerce platform, you can see that the younger consumer tend to shop online frequency than order. Shopee, TikTok are the most popular online for shopping, and 62% of them confirm that they being influenced by comment, video, and live stream. And with the fact that 99% social media user and 71% they use VOD viewer access via mobile, you can see that the fluctuation in entertainment and e-commerce now takes place direct on mobile. This trend creates a new opportunity for brands to reach consumer their familiar touch point, the smartphone. Why I use this? User watch video and live stream not only for entertainment, but also for discovery, evaluation, and purchase the products in the real time. And the social commerce with live stream shopping have become the effective sales channel, helping brands shorten the consumer journey. They can viewing, interesting, and purchasing. And to help you to have the more clearly understanding, we have prepared a comparison table to show the level media usage across different age groups to see, compare with overall. You can see that the Gen Z and millennials had the higher average usage level across the digital platform, such as social media, VOD, and outdoor advertising, while the older focus on TV and print newspaper. It's not an age group. When you put the same age group in different segment markets, you will see the difference. This second table to show you, compare with specific audience segment, we can observe the difference. When we look at the same age group, 50-54, but one is general overall population. One is working office worker and one living in apartment resident. You can see that different level. The people living or working in high-rise building in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi reverse that. They use the lower social media usage than overall. But they is exposed to digital TV spotter screen in elevator and lobby, and it's 7 times the population average. In reality, the difference in that one will also influence to the advertising budget. On television, you can see that the 3 sectors get for 64% is drink, food and hygiene beauty. They got 64% of total share market on TV ads. But in the same groups, same sector, food, drink and hygiene beauty in digital, you can see that it costs 42% of total share. So this number indicates that the highly competitive environments where the variety brand, advertiser, and industry are participants in the race to capture the attention of online consumer. We do some case study in beer industry to show you how fragmentations for the commerce. You can see that we 3 tables to show you the top 5 brands drinking beer last 3 months in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. You can see that in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi top 5 brand is Hanoi, Triple Tree, Saigon, Tiger, and Heineken. Ho Chi Minh is Tiger, Saigon, Heineken, Strongbow, and Triple Tree. But it's the same question and ask for the people who's living in the apartment building or working in office building. You can see that there are difference about the brand. Why it should give me the first? Okay. So for the Hanoi, you can see that the brand top most brands is quite similar. But for Ho Chi Minh City, the top famous brand are people who are living or working in office building apartment. They have the last one is Blank, the brand Blank 1967, and in the top, the title of shop is 11% is Budweiser. So the people living in the apartment building or office building, the famous brands gonna have the Budweiser and plants. Instead, Heineken, Tiger, Triple Tree, Strongbow, in compare with overall. In the same picture, I put 3 groups. One is average population from 18 to 54. One the same age group, but they live in office building, working in private building and live in apartment. You can see that the daily usage is different. Hello? Hello? Yeah. You can see that in general, that's what the Niner TV, the people in Hanoi who run beer in the past 3 months, top 5 daily users we have watching Liner TV. Compared with Ho Chi Minh City, you can see that they watch short videos, review movie and TV program on social media. But in the same group, you put people who's living or working in office building, you can see that Hanoi is not quite Ho Chi Minh is not quite a difference, but for Hanoi, you can see that they refer to watch free movie on it instead of watch Liner TV. And if compare the people in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City in the same segment market, like living in apartment building, office building, why Ho Chi Minh City prefer to watch short video on social media. And another is from YouTube. So to what? Okay, time up. So I just take 3 points to take away for this presentation. First of all, there are no single media channel work for everyone. The second point is advertiser needs to understand where the age group spend their time and how they engage with the content. And the last one is choosing the right mix channel is more crucial for ever campaign to truly connect and perform in this transformation media landscape. And now I will conclude my part and now turn to Ms. Thanh Mai. She will provide you the insight of regulation in terms of media marketing and advertising.
Thank you, Thuy. I think it's too much data, so I don't take a lot of your time. But working in marketing and communications, I would like to introduce to 2 regulations I think is important to you. The first one is Advertising Law 2025, which passed in June this year, but going to be effective from January next year. But 2 new things with the new advertising law is the first recognition of the DOOH. You see from Thuy presentation that our home medium is quite attractive to a number of different targets. Before, the government just didn't allow using digital technology in DOH. But this year, with the new law, they opened the door for DOH. So I think that as marketers, you can use this medium much more effectively, especially in Ho Chi Minh City. The second one, that's the new laws will put more control, requiring digital advertising activities more transparent and control more, so that in order to protect the consumer from fraud, false information and using data privacy. So I think it's a good move with the regulators. So I think that I got on the reference number of the law, so you can search it on the government website and see how it applies to your marketing and activities. And the second one, which I think will impact you greatly, is the new
regulation from the Central Bureau, Political Bureau, which called 373, to restructure the whole media landscapes in Vietnam. So as you know that previously we had over 800 different print titles. We had over 300 TV channels. And not saying about lots of different magazines, but now it decided that we don't have television, we don't have radio, and we don't have newspapers alone. Now the government decided to create those medium, on print, newspaper, radio, all together, and television, all together to create what they call a media and communication agency. So in order to empower the local media become very big corporation. So that means that, and also the first time ever, the government opened the door for the media to use digital. Before, every single piece of media, like a newspapers, article, or television, program, should be exactly the same form it will show on TV. So it doesn't meet the needs of the consumer, of the viewers, or the Vietnamese. So with this move, the local media become a very, very powerful communication and media agency. But of course, it's easy to say than do it. So, but I believe that once they go through the chaotics and the pains of integrating into one big powerful media agency, and also the first time ever, the government, not the government, in fact, now they're moving on the media under the direct management of the Communist Party. So that means that it's even more powerful than under the government management. And they also allow the media to officially doing advertising. So imagine, that's the first time they ever that recognizing that the official media can get advertising revenue to fund their business. So I think it's important. I'm very happy when you're looking at Rakesh and also with Thuy mentioning about the words of trust. Because the government agency, you know that information on the internet is very good, it's available, but you're lacking of trust source information. So therefore, trust is very important with the media. So think about how you can use that power of the new transformation working with the media to creating trust for your brands and how you can link with all that transformation. The other thing to also mention in her presentation is co-creating. But I would prefer in marketing that you had to move away from storytelling into story making. So imagine that if people just paying money on paid social or digital to say about yourself, why don't you looking at using the official media with trust and get the viewers, the consumer, talks about yourself on earned media? I think that's the successful of the new marketing in the very fast-changing media world now. So that's basically the ending of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Now that we turn to look at what's happening on the ground, how Vietnamese consumers are buying and how retail trends are shifting. Mr. Peter Christou, General Manager of World Panel Vietnam, he has a wealth of experience in consumer panel data, retail analytics, helping brands navigate dynamic shopping behaviors and distribution realities. He said, we are not talking about any particular brand, okay? So please join me in welcoming Peter to share his latest insights on retail consumption trends.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I did say I'm not going to talk about any specific brands. Thank you for telling everyone. Okay, so I hope you like numbers. You've seen a lot of numbers. I'm a researcher. I have some more numbers for you, okay? And so hopefully you won't all fall asleep. But I'm going to talk about retail trends, okay? And retail trends in Vietnam. Now, one thing just to note, and I say this all the time, is that at World Panel, we have a consumer panel that tracks behavior within FMCG. So all of the data that I'm looking at today is within the world of consumer goods, FMCG. So we've had mentions of Momo and fashion and etc. I'm afraid that's not inside the data that we look at. So everything here to do with consumer goods. So I'm going to start with some more macro trends about how shopping behaviors are changing over time. The first thing I'd like to call out is that we, or Vietnamese consumers, are shopping less often over time. We go back to 2019, there were 145 shopping trips in a year. That means on average 3 times a week people are shopping for FMCG products. Today it's down to 124. That's 15% less shopping trips. And for brand owners and manufacturers and retailers, that's 15% less times to meet your shoppers. Now, as if that wasn't difficult enough, at the same time as shopping less often, they're actually shopping in more different places over time. So in 2019, on average 5 channels, can be online, street shop, and a hypermarket. Now it's 6. So the retail world is becoming much more fragmented. I'm making less trips overall, but I'm shopping in more different places. And that makes it really difficult for retailers to build any kind of loyalty. And for brands, it's really important to absolutely be available everywhere where your consumer is. Because if you're not available, they cannot pick you. Okay? So what does that mean to the landscape of Vietnam? So here we've got the retail share of trade in the urban area on the right and the rural area on the left. And there's a couple of things I want to call out. First of all, we can talk about the evolution of the landscape. We can talk about modernization. But it's really important to remember that Vietnam still predominantly is a general trade market. So even in the urban areas, if I take street shop, wet market, and GT specialty, that's more than 50%. So more than half of spending on consumer goods is still in general trade in Vietnam today. And in the rural areas, that's 80%. Okay, so it's changing, but still a huge proportion of business going through general trade. What's growing? Online is growing and mini stores are growing. So online now is up to 11% market share in the urban area. For some categories, it's 40 or 50% already, but that's just the average of 11. And we anticipate that it will continue to grow, probably up to 14% on average by next year. And in the rural area, it's currently 4 and will grow up to 6%. So definitely online continues to grow. Mini stores, I'm sure many of you see them on the street everywhere you go now. They're growing as well. And one thing to call out is the hyper supermarket in the middle, being kind of stretched from both sides, not really gaining any share and struggling to resonate with consumers. And we actually forecast that hyper supermarket channel will drop in share. A bit different to what you said, Ralph. Okay, so that's a bit of the lay of the land. Next, I want to talk about food safety. And you might be wondering, why am I talking about food safety when I'm supposed to be talking about retail landscape? I think many of you, you've come to this event, you are checking the news, you've seen a lot of things that have been happening in the media recently. You would have probably seen lots of discussion around food quality in fresh meats. You would have seen things about milk scandals and challenges in counterfeit products. And what has happened is that Vietnamese consumers have a much more heightened awareness around the quality of food and food safety. Up to 65% of households now, they are concerned around food safety. It's the highest it's been for a really long time, up from 45% a couple of years ago. So, with that knowledge, why do I mention that? We run what we call a Smart Shopper, which is a retail equity tracker. And within that, we can understand what are the key reasons that Vietnamese consumers choose a particular channel that they shop in. And what we've seen in our data recently is that as well as price, so lowest price meat and seafood, the other concern that people have that helps them to choose the store they will go to is around the best quality product. Okay, so this is really important, and those two are growing really quickly in terms of ranking. Okay, so this is a really important point, and retailers have actually caught on to this as well. Now, before I show you some pictures, what does good quality product actually mean to consumers? So I won't go into the depths of the analysis, but to call out, when consumers think about good quality, what does it mean? It means trustful products, so an official brand, transparent origins, okay? It means hygiene expectations, so I want the store to be clean when I go in there, right? variety of items, comfortable place, and protecting the environment. Now, the interesting thing here, which is the challenge, is that consumers, Ralph showed us that the confidence is still not back. Consumers are still worried and concerned about the cost of items. So there's a balance here between quality and price. But in terms of perceptions, actually, when you have the lowest prices, it can work against the perception of quality. So this is a really interesting struggle that brands, manufacturers need to manage in order to be able to win their shoppers. So consumers want quality, but they also don't want to pay lots of money for that, right? So this is something that needs to be balanced. And many of the retailers are adapting to this. If you shop in store, you will see many things. So first of all, the Green Tick of Responsibility program, so lots of signs up there where they're trying to display that. And if you actually go into some of the stores, you will see the way that the fresh food, the fresh meat is laid out with, kind of see-through fridges, the counters, the buffet style. These are all attempts from the retailer to show the perception of quality of the products that they have in store in order to attract more shoppers to their stores. Okay? So, enough about food safety. The next thing I want to talk about is online. And it's been mentioned already by some of the other speakers, and I think it's an important trend. So, here what we're looking at is the penetration. That's the percentage of Vietnamese households that have shopped online for FMCG in 1 year. In the blue one, in urban areas, that's up to 60% by the end of 2024. And up to 42% in the rural area. I did quickly check the latest number this morning. Who can tell me, is it going up or down? Up. No surprise. So in urban, it's now 65%, so 2/3 of the population, and in rural, it's over 45%. Okay, so it is absolutely an important channel. But the other thing I've added here, underneath total online, we have obviously the normal, the Shoppies and Lazadas, but we also have social commerce. Social commerce, and that was also mentioned before, is becoming really, really popular and has now reached 40% penetration in the urban area and 32% in rural. Now, it's really interesting for the rural one. Now, I'm going to do a bit of math now, but if I divide 32 by 42, you have the conversion. Social commerce is actually a really powerful way to reach the rural consumers because they're online and they're seeing the trends and they want some of that. So, for rural in particular, which is a huge amount of population, social commerce is going to be a really big platform moving forwards. And no surprise to see when we talk about who are the players. Of course, Facebook, been here a long time, commands a great share. But if you actually look at the most recent data, you can see that TikTok Shop is not just absorbing our attention, we are actually buying on there as well. And it's converting into purchase. So now TikTok is accounting for around 40% of the social commerce spending. And you can see how much it's jumped up in just 1 year. Okay, so TikTok Shop. And I think Tu mentioned it. There's no more purchase funnel anymore. I don't look at my phone, awareness, and then I think I'm going to go and have a look at that next time. And no, I see it, I can just click buy, and I buy. And so it's a very powerful, and it unlocks a lot from that perspective. And I think the interesting thing here is, when we talk about online, usually it's makeup, personal care, baby diapers. Those are the kinds of categories that you tend to see purchased online the most. With social commerce, it's really interesting. It opens up for all of the players. Actually, liquid detergent is a very big category that is purchased online. Lots of advertising. And I see biscuits, cakes, confectionery. It's really the market for everyone to really tap into. So it's not restricted on just a few categories. This is really opened up in terms of the opportunity for everyone. And we believe that it will continue to grow. I told you before that 65% of the population in urban, they shop online for FMCG. What I can also tell you is that on average, they're shopping 11 times, nearly once per month. Okay, so it's not only that more people are shopping online, those who are shopping online are starting to move more of their spending online as well. And that's why it's gaining share. So up to 11, and you can see for the normal e-commerce, over 9 now, and social commerce. So even for social commerce in urban, nearly once every 2 months, I'm making a purchase for FMCG. So it's really big. Why is this a big opportunity for manufacturers? The average ticket size for an e-commerce spend is around 300K. Who can guess what is an average ticket offline? Not you, because you know, World Panel employee. It's 2x, it's double. So an average offline purchase is half that, which means that it's a really big opportunity to upsell your shoppers. Okay, so just want to leave you with that opportunity. And just to summarize, 3 key things. I said, be everywhere and build trust. Trust has been mentioned in 2 or 3 presentations with different angles, different meanings, but again, it resonates a lot with everything going on food safety-wise. So we have to build that trust, and we also have to be available everywhere where our shoppers are going. The second one, and I would say quite a difficult one, is how we navigate that price-quality aspect to keep our shoppers coming. We have to compete on price, but it cannot be at the expense of quality. Consumers will recognize that, and they will leave your brands. And then the online leverage. I mean, I think I don't need to talk too much about the opportunity there, but I think what I would like to leave you with is the social commerce aspect of that online is where I see big growth coming into the future. So thank you very much for listening.
So that is all of our keynote presentation, and leading us to a more interactive and innovative session going to be led by Richard Barash, Board Advisor at Semigo. So this is going to be a AI-driven kind of interactive session, which I have absolutely no idea what he is doing. If it doesn't work, then I'm sure Richard will find a way to fill the time, right?
I'm a great dancer.
There you go.
Yep.
Ralph may join you in that case. Be reminded that you are on video. That's all I'm going to say. I'm turning the stage to you, Richard. Thank you for showing us a new way.
Thank you. Thank you, Winnie, Gabrielle, Ralph, Cam Cham. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. No one seems to know what I'm doing, which is amusing. Ralph thinks I'm talking about AI. I'm not talking about AI. I don't know where he got that from. But when you signed up, there was a question box that said, what consumer trends would you like to know about? And I'm going to try and answer some of those, not all of those. I've very kindly hidden the names of the people who gave me... these are the questions that some of you asked. A lot of you just put retail, FMCG, but where there were specific questions, I tried to, with a little bit of license, adapt those questions to make them something specific so that I can answer them somewhat succinctly. And I'm going to use a tool, which is a consumer intelligence platform, to do that. It's called Ask Simigo, which is our name. And this takes us through a lot of information on different areas. As I said before, these were some of the questions on the left that you asked, and on the right, I've reiterated those with a little bit of license. So I'm not talking about AI, but this is using AI to go through a lot of Simigo syndicated reports, and that will enable us to not only get sort of instant answers, but try and answer the questions that people have in meetings and talk about how things are changing across different audiences. And also provide reference points for people to be able to look at the answer. So the question was, how's it changing? Peter has done a fantastic job at answering that question already, so The next question was, how do MZ mums shop for infant nutrition, which I can't spell, and compare online and stores? So somebody asked specifically about shopping for infant formula amongst a young audience. So again, it's telling us how online shopping's changed, how it might be different across different geographies, how mums purchase online, what matters to them, and sort of summaries there. But it also has the ability to say, okay, well, show me the source, let me have a look. I don't know. I want to know specifically about shopping behavior. So maybe I can look in here about somewhere how people shop for different categories and where they shop. So how many are buying offline, how many are buying online, what sort of stores they're using, what are the channels, the chains that are popular, and who's doing that at the store via e-com or via the store's website. So those sort of things enable someone to dig down if they want, or they can go to an interactive dashboard, which I won't do, and they can drill down specifically in that example to their Gen Z group. Let me move on to a very different topic, and then I can't stand typing after that, so I will stop. But maybe somebody would like to ask me a topic, rather. Somebody asked about digital payments.
Who's the most handsome researcher of Vietnam?
The only answer I get when I put that is not Ralph. So somebody asked about digital payments and retail banking. I can't remember the question now, but you know, so it's going to tell us about different wallets, different digital banking. Again, give the reference points. What was that question? What's the biggest?
Excuse me. So could you ask for me what about the market trend for pet food in Vietnam? Yeah.
Pet food, I can tell you I don't have an answer. It's going to tell me we don't know. We don't have everything, but if you go on, you can request that we add it, and we will. But pet foods, I don't know. Okay, it doesn't tell me about bubble tea. Oh, it does tell me a little bit about bubble tea. So I could go to bubble tea and find out. This is, I think, a quick snapshot of the brands of bubble tea. The biggest one is coming from Phúc Long bubble tea. And then I can't read that because my eyesight's not good enough. Any other questions? I'll do one more and then I'm going to call it quits, given the demo's gone so well.
Yeah, I would like to know more about the preschool. Can you tell me maybe like the factor to choose preschool like of Vietnamese mom?
Preschools. How do mums select preschools in Vietnam? It's churning it over. Okay, so it has some answers about preschools and different types of mums and that sort of thing. Okay, please go and try it yourselves. You can try it for free. You can sign up for free. And it's not pulling from the internet. It's just an AI agent that's been built to look at our own reports and documents. And we keep on adding more. Upcoming is media, kitchen, very exciting, air purifiers, and so on. So I'm going to stop there, given that my demo tech didn't work so well, but thank you for giving me a moment of attention. So Richard, you say that this is free to try? Yes, it's free to try.
And that is the URL that we're going to go to is ask.simigo.com.
Just go to simigo.com and you'll find it.
Go to simigo.com
Yeah.
and we'll be able to find this.
Yeah.
And we can try it for free, right?
You can try it for free.
Without your password.
Well, you can use my password if you want.
Well, then please put it on the screen. I'm not asking much, right? You guys want to know, right? Yeah.
Okay, do you want to head back to your slides?
Thank you so much, Richard. Now, we've heard about all the presentations. And thank you, Richard. And I think what centers at everything is we talk about trust and balance, all right? And we know that trust doesn't come overnight. Balance is almost impossible to achieve. So maybe we'll start with what is the one must-do thing for companies right now who is trying to get that trust, other than whatever they're doing right now. Which side want to start with first? Gentlemen? Oh, Ralph. Of course, Ralph wants to talk.
Just very quickly. You can't have trust until you have awareness. So, in other words, Tu, who's not here with us from Heineken, had a lot of good points, all right? But remember, if you're talking about this co-creation, whatever else, that's only if you're using Facebook or the social media platforms, right? So the thing is, as Peter said, you've got to be everywhere. You've got to be able to build your awareness, all right? From that, the basic way to get to trust is you have to deliver on the promise that you make to clients. So that's the experience part.
Yeah, I would just share, I mean...
You don't have to agree with Ralph, you know.
No, in my presentation also, I just shared that the delivery of the promise is the most important thing. Even if we start small, because our customers look at what we are saying and then what we are actually delivering and how we are behaving as a brand. So I think that's a balance on the delivery part.
I would just add, I think similar, the consistency and at all costs avoid any scandals, because Vietnamese consumers, the news travels really fast now with digital and they react very quickly. The cases that we've seen this year in different sectors of FMCG, all of those brands, manufacturers, has suffered a lot as a result of what has come out in the press. So just really avoid any scandals, because it will have a big negative impact.
Okay, I'm going to add a level to the questions to this side. It's like, obviously, trust is important. We have to do it, avoid scandals. But with the increasing online advertising, the distance that it creates with the consumers make it really difficult to say what's real and what's not real. So are we still talking about the same way of building trust, or are we building a different trust?
If you look at the way that consumers interact with live stream or shoppable videos, they will talk about how important the social reviews are and seeing comments during particularly a shoppable video or a live stream from other shoppers, which gives them a sense of trust and assurance. So, it's just a changing way of communicating trust, and that's why live stream and shoppable is doing so well, as other members have alluded to. But my point on the first point with trust is it's not complicated. It's the same way you build trust with a partner in your life. Same principles.
I think I would like to put in building trust another aspect called intimacy. So I think that the example that you share about the Tiger football, street football, is one way you interact with the clients. And so building relationship intimacy so that you had a good quality products, you deliver your promise, you create experience for them, but also you need to build intimacy. Then you can be very, very trustful. Right? So it's not thinking about advertising. You should think advertising in this changing world, is including PR, including events, including, earned media, also including your paid media. So everything must work together, no boundary. So sorry for that, but I think it's more than just a simple trust.
Do you want to add? Okay, so building trust is important, that we now know that we have more laws coming into place, more seems to be a little bit more freedom, but a little bit more control at the same time. So obviously, as we try new things, there's obvious black holes we need to avoid. Do you see any particular black holes that we need to be very careful with? Thuy, what do you think? You know, you're the media expert, you know.
While Thuy's thinking, there's a lot of use of key opinion leaders, whether they're celebrities or just super consumers. I mean, that's a one to watch because they can go off the rails and cause you a bit of a reputation risk quite quickly.
Yeah, all we have to do is refer to recent scandals, right?
I would say that probably in marketing advertising, when you're talking about black holes, you say that Peter said people wanted good quality but doesn't want to pay so lot. I would rephrase it that, you know, pay for the value of money. So don't overclaim your products, but you don't need to send cheap, but you had to present your quality at the values or it brings to the consumer. So don't go to say that I'm the best, or don't say that, you know, I'm very cheap, because everything that you're buying online, you know, the loopholes or the black hole buying online is very poor quality products, and sometimes had to pay quite dearly on that. And that's one way the government had to put the regulation on that false claim.
I don't think Vietnam currently has any consumer protection laws enabled yet. Is it in the make?
Really good question. There is an IP protection. So, for example, if you are a company and you see someone else sort of stealing your IP or claiming things like that, you can actually go to them. But in terms of false advertising, I think that falls back over here because I don't think there is that at present. So I think that's why those laws are coming in. So I don't think there's one at present that actually exists.
It's good that there's room to grow, right? Do we have any questions from the audience that you're getting ready? We have someone in the middle there. Microphone's coming. Please introduce yourself, and you may direct the questions as any of the speaker.
My name is Kenya, and thank you very much for all the presentations. My question is about media spending. I understood that there's a shift from the analog to the digital, but I was very shocked to see that total spending is down for $600 million US from 2022 to 2025. My question is, where does this money go? Obviously, it doesn't come to the market research, but it goes to somewhere else. I think, maybe it goes to like large place, but so I think marketing budget doesn't decrease so much, but the media spending does. So I would like to know where this money that has been decreased to the media spending is going.
If I could just very quickly, every September I contact our key clients and say, let's meet up, to talk about Q4 and next year. And every one of them said, sorry, can't really have a discussion right now because we've all had our budgets frozen or cut, all right? What we're not understanding is the impact of Trump's tariffs, the global uncertainty. It has a trickle-down effect in Vietnam. It's not the tariffs themselves, it's the uncertainty. So you've got large corporations here in Vietnam whose head office has said, sorry, we are losing money, you got to tighten your belt, all right? And I think another one, and this is a really good one, we were talking about this before, Rakesh. In the old days with Kantar Media, you knew the exact impact of what TV had, viewers, who they were, audience, the whole 9 yards. Social media, no idea. It's algorithms that supposedly tell you this is the person or that is the person. So you've got this huge black hole called social media advertising where people don't really know the impact of it because it's so far been very hard to measure in Vietnam.
So the key is like, where did the money go?
There's less. There's less being spent.
Show us the money, right? Is it the same with online and in retail? Is it the same that people are not spending it?
I mean, definitely we see consumers who have been concerned about, you know, job safety and their incomes. That, yeah, they're making more conscious decisions in a lot of FMCG categories. We see they down trade to cheaper products, or they, you know, look for more value-led pack sizes, so maybe upsizing to have a better overall price. So absolutely yes, and that is trickling through. A lot of our clients are not having a great year. And where is that spending going? I heard shareholders mentioned. Shareholders, probably. I mean, you look at the number of layoffs that are taking place in lots of those big chip companies now. Like thousands and thousands and thousands. So,
I'm not convinced that the budgets have dropped that much, to be honest. I know times are tough and budgets aren't necessarily increasing. You think about what some of these marketing companies, particularly in FMCG space, are having to do. They're creating their own studios in-house. They're spending money preparing live streams, 6 hours a day of live stream, spending money comparing shoppable videos. Tu alluded to the events that Heineken and Tiger are doing, essentially, you know, not only for the event, but also to create content. So the budgets are going elsewhere to fuel what is a huge appetite for social content. Question how effective it is, but, you know, a lot of that's happening. It's not we've lost 600 million in overall budgets. It's just not going to mainstream television.
Yes, to clarify what Richard has said, I think a drop is in tracks medium. So it's very much still in the old definition of advertising spend. Lots of money also putting on the e-commerce platform when you see that people are putting up all the different, you know, advertising which not tracked in the numbers. So what we call there's more on awareness on creating story that around trades marketing. Because you know that you had before you had above the line, below the line. So lots of money shift to below the line, creating more interaction and experience with clients, which, you know, we don't track.
A lot of it's activation for social commerce, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of this is, I think it goes into many more different channels, more diverse and more segmented. I see that Mike has a microphone.
Yeah, so Mike Hebert, and apologies if this question goes a little bit weary because I'm not even sure how to ask it. We've seen for many years Vietnamese have a certain, we'll say, when it comes to other countries, been against Chinese brands or Chinese movement. But at the same time, in the last year, I have seen so many Chinese brands launching, activating in Vietnam. Do you have any insight on trends of Chinese brands coming into Vietnam?
I don't want Ralph to speak first.
So, I mean, they are the #1 import. And admittedly, a lot of that is re-exported. But yeah, I mean, just look at the car space and how Chinese automobiles, they're doing the same thing that South Korean automobiles did 19 years ago when they first came into the market. But they're doing it much more successfully with much higher price segments of cars. So the anti-China sentiment only goes so far when there's a good option in front of you.
On F&B, I feel on maybe...
As Peter alluded to, I think one of the key insights from Peter's presentation is the fact that quality versus price, okay? Now, Chinese goods historically have been seen as quite negative and poor quality. However, you have BYU and the auto manufacturers and AI and whatever else, which is starting to increase the value proposition of other Chinese products and brands across categories. So I remember specifically talking to Vietnamese consumers saying, yeah, I'll never buy a Chinese brand. And all of a sudden, they're buying lots of Chinese brands because they're 30% cheaper. Right? So it is, as Peter pointed out, again, it's the quality versus price trade-off, and Chinese brands are moving up the ecosystem of quality, perceived.
Anything to add? That's why Ralph shouldn't be speaking. Mike, if you don't mind giving the microphone to the gentleman next to you. We have some, yep, okay, please.
Okay. Eckhart from Uncle Bill's. I have a question related to social commerce. It was a bit of a surprise that liquid detergent is topping the list. And I would like to know, A, what makes liquid detergent such a great product for social commerce? B, how sustainable are those sellers? Is that something which can develop further, or is that a one-hit wonder?
One of the things to remember, so the slide that I was showing and the numbers that I was showing was ranking in terms of penetration. So liquid detergent is a big category to start with. So that is one of the reasons. So, you know, there are a lot of people, everyone almost, buying liquid detergent. So that's the main reason why it's high up in the list. But there are lots, I've seen a lot of activations of lots of different brands. So you've got the Unilevers of this world, but also Thai products are doing a lot in the social commerce space. I think Chinese as well. I have to say I don't buy detergent for myself, but sat right behind you is someone from Unilever who might be able to answer you some of these questions. But the main reason is the size of the category is already really big. I would say that list is a snapshot in a point of time, and if I showed you that list in 6 months or 12 months, we could see a big change in the ranking as well.
It's also a very large pack. So if you can have that pack delivered, rather than carry it yourself, it takes it explains why there's a lot of use of such a, I mean, it's typically a 1 kilo pack, or 5 litre pack. 3.5. So you can see why people would like some poor guy on a motorbike to deliver them.
And at the moment, a lot of big offers, promotions. That, you know, the other thing with social commerce is the ability to buy immediately, but combined with huge offers that convince shoppers to buy. And absolutely in detergent, we've seen a lot of big promotions because there's new formats of detergent, like the capsules, and the big brands, they want to get people trying those because they want to premiumize the market and move people up from liquid into even more expensive formats. So huge deals to introduce these kinds of new formats into households.
I would just like to add one point, which is about the convenience, because, I mean, why do I need to go to the outlet and carry this when I get a discount and everything and at a cheaper price? So that again gives a different angle.
As a consumer, I would think that laundry detergents is a low-risk product to try, especially if you're a first-time online buyer. How wrong can it go, right? Even if you're buying something unknown for the first time, I think you'll probably still get your dishes clean. Yeah? Okay, so let's get to the next one. Do we have another question before I ask another question? All right, so one of the things is that when we are in the region, a lot of people was telling us that you Vietnamese seems to be pretty happy going with everything in the world. Doesn't seem so much that you're impacted by the tariff and so on and so forth. People seems to be happy shopping, especially when they look at our online activities and so. So is it reality or is it just a myth?
I'm Vietnamese, so can I answer that question? I think in general, the Vietnamese only want to show the good sides outside. So anything bad, we tend to hide behind at the back. So you never see that we are unhappy. Even you're very unhappy, you still smile. That's part of the culture.
So internationally, we're putting up a pretty good front.
And when you go out of the house, you will see that our face is different when you get in the house, dealing with our difficulties. So, we don't want to show the bad side outside.
That's an
So
interesting
face value
perspective.
is important. Okay.
Miss Mai,
The second thing relating to consumer trends, I think that recently, because of all the vulnerable, on the change in the markets, so those who had money now they're moving from owning something into spending their money and living and enjoying the best money can offer. So then again, when people are not saving money to build property or to buy property or invest into gold, now they want to spend the money and enjoy their life. So you see the trends on the upper Vietnamese. They don't want to own the house anymore. They don't want to buy those stuff. They want to enjoy, so they rent their house, getting the money. They don't want to buy the car because the money won't stuck there. They want to enjoy every single modern car, so they prefer to hire. So that's the new trends.
I would just like to add that when we compare it with the peers, like all the other countries in Asia, I would certainly say that, you will see that I understand about showing something and then, not showing the negative part, but historically you will see that this community is a very strong community. I mean, just take the example of COVID when every country was going through the same, but the way things were managed in Vietnam was very different than any other country. So I have a different thinking on this, because as in the slide, the optimism is always there, because as a society, where Vietnamese have always faced those uncertainties, the challenges. Even now, for example, we all know that the central Vietnam is going through a lot of challenges, but we are still moving on. It is not like, oh, okay, what do we do now? So I think that's it's inherent. So that's again what I have understood so far.
Yeah. I would add that a dose of reality. If you're growing this year, you've done really well. Honestly, sentiment is low. It's way below 19. Consumers are not premiumizing as they were before COVID. Consumers are still recovering their savings. Mai is absolutely correct. There's another shift in behavior towards experience. So if you look at the domestic tourism industry, actually there's progression. People are spending money in that space, yet they're not spending money and going out to a hot pot and having lots of beer tonight. So there's lots of changes along with the retail structure that Peter's talked about going on. But ultimately, consumers are spending less than they were pre-COVID.
And don't forget, you can't say the Vietnamese. There are 99 or 100 million Vietnamese that all have very different economic backgrounds, outlooks, family sizes, incomes. That's huge. If you look at today, the minimum wage is 4.95 million a month in Ho Chi Minh City. If you are a contracted laborer, there are 32 million people in Vietnam who don't have a contract, which means that they're not even making minimum wage probably, or a lot are not. So the point is, you've got a huge polarization of wealth in this country, and it's actually getting bigger, not smaller. So we can't just say, this or that. And I totally agree with my wife is Vietnamese, so I understand what you're saying.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we are here. We see that Vietnamese are very resilient. They're definitely into more experience now. Thank goodness I got out of real estate, since they are more into experience than buying. But if there is one last word you can say, it's almost time. What is your prediction in terms of the shifts that we may see in the next 6 months or so? Now, Ralph already said that it doesn't think that the Vietnamese government is going to rectify the tariff thing, all right? And while the US side is saying that they are rectifying with Vietnam at 20%, which I don't see what gain we have. So what may be happening, or what may we be watching in the next 6 months upcoming with TED and whatnot? Is there going to be any difference? Ladies first.
I think in 6 months is a very too short a time to predict anything, because I think in the next 6 months it's still very difficult for the Vietnamese, both economically and consumers. But I think after the party congress, I would think that probably Vietnam, if we go into the right direction, even though we had to go through lots of pains and chaotics. But once it's starting with all standardization, with the chain restructuring happening in the country, I would expect things getting better by the end of next year. So I think that's too optimistic to look at 6 month times now. So no, if we are good, and it will open a good opportunity for good products, good company to build trust and grow with the country. I don't think it's time, it's going to be end for low quality product deceiving consumer. So it's time to look at standardization and professionalism.
So short prompts stay the same. Thuy, you have something to add? Same with mine. All right. Besides the ladies.
My view is that if you need to budget next year and you're looking at budgets, I would add 2 points to whatever you manage to achieve this year. So if you're -4 this year, then you're looking at -2 next year. If you're 4% growth this year, you're looking at 6% next year. The reason I say that is, the primary reason for saying that is I think that the savings that are going on in Vietnamese households will start to subside, because I think the pots are getting almost to where they were in 19, and that will enable people to be a little bit more free with their money. So not a drastic change, a very slight increase on what you achieved this year if you manage to achieve growth this year.
I echo exactly what Richard said. By the way, this is very rare that we agree with each other, all right? But exactly right. I think next year will be slightly better, but I think it will be a bit more positive than it has been. And again, it's about savings, right? It's about figuring out finally what's going on with the tariffs and whatever else. As Mai said about the new government, the meetings and whatever else that are going to come from that, because there's also a lot of infrastructure money that has to flow into the economy as well, right? So a little bit better next year.
I mean, most of you have already shared that, but from what we understand from consumers is, again, it is all about really, our consumers are more smarter. They know how to balance between the basic and where to spend more. Again, remember, they still want to enjoy today. They still want to get those moments. But at the same time, there is uncertainty, hence the savings, hence keeping it for the winter. So again, it is the balance. All the macro indicators looks very positive. We saw from Ralph's presentation about FDI, about so much of infrastructure being developed. We also saw the government, the restructuring of provinces. So all that effort, and I'm sure you must be also aware of, IFC, the International Finance Center going to be established. So there are a lot of positives, but at the same time, it is not just about Vietnam. We are influenced by what's going on around the world. So as a consumer, we will certainly see that, especially with Vietnam, it is going to be a balance, right? It will not be just overspending or spending too much, but at the same time, a balance. That's what I see. But again, just to echo, I think next year should be positive. How big is that positive? We don't know yet, but certainly there is an optimism.
I don't have too much to add. I actually agree with pretty much everything that's been said. My personal opinion is that we will continue to find things difficult for the next 6 to 9 months. I can't see any big shift. So I think, hang on in there, everyone, because it's been a difficult year for most, and it will continue to be quite difficult. In terms of things we can be a bit more confident about, we talked about social commerce, we talked, digital out of home. These things, we know absolutely that they will continue to develop, continue to grow. So there are still pockets of growth, and we can find a way. But in general, it's still going to be a bit challenging.
So let me see if I can summarize the takeaway today. It's good to see positivity in time of difficulties. I think that's what propelled us forward. The few key things that we're talking about is about building experience, building trust, looking at balance of quality versus price, and then leveraging the online when you are doing your offline business also. So I think all of the businesses are really focused on that, just a matter of how they're shifting the percentage and at what speed are they going, and hopefully avoid the scandals.
Thank you very much to the Consulate General of Canada for your continued trust, partnership, and collaboration with CanCham Vietnam. A heartfelt thank you to our CanCham honorary member, Ralph, for your dedication and bringing this event to life. Your leadership in curating today's session and engaging our outstanding speakers has created an insightful and meaningful afternoon for all of us. Thank you as well to Winnie Lam for your impeccable hosting and moderation. Your professionalism and warmth kept today's discussion dynamic and engaging and filled the spaces where we needed to. And to our speakers, Ralph, Rakesh, Tu, Mai, Thuy, Peter, and Richard, thank you so very much for taking the time to collaborate with CanCham and to share your expertise. Your perspectives help our members and the wider business community stay informed and ready for the evolving consumer trends of 2026 and beyond. A special thanks to Park Hyatt Saigon as well for being such gracious hosts and ensuring a seamless experience for everyone here today. And we would also like to extend our gratitude to our national corporate sponsors for their ongoing commitment and support. Last but not the least, I'd like to thank Lynn, AP, Tu An, and Ngan for their amazing work in delivering today's event. At the Canadian Chamber of Commerce Vietnam, our mission is to strengthen the Canada-Vietnam Business Bridge. We strive to connect, inform, and empower businesses through networking, learning, and knowledge sharing to help them navigate the Vietnamese market successfully. If you would like to explore collaboration opportunities or learn more about engaging with our community, please do not hesitate to reach out to one of us. And we would love to really connect with you. So, we give this knowledge, experience, and really provide our platform to everyone who needs a stage. Before we close, I'd like to also highlight one of our key community initiatives. The Children's Cancer Run, a continuation of CanCham's long-standing legacy since the Terry Fox Run. Last year, the event brought together over 6,000 participants, raising vital funds for the Vena Capital Foundation's Can't Clover program, which supports hospitals with medical equipment, treatment, and therapy for children battling cancer. Each year, over 4,000 new pediatric cancer cases are diagnosed in Vietnam, and many children still lack access to proper treatment. If you'd like to learn more about this initiative or how you can support CanCham and our partners, please connect with a member of the CanCham team. Details will also be shared in our post-event recap. Once again, thank you all so very much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at our upcoming CanCham events and continuing to build bridges together between Canada and Vietnam. Thank you so very much, everyone.